If anyone online cannot hear us, please let us know in the chat. Well, how would they know? So now we're streaming, so we can close this window. Yep. And then let's click Zoom again. Yep. Try this one. All right, and click chat just to see if anyone has. When we scroll all the way to the bottom of chat. Okay, great. So Ethan's at least confirmed that you can see and hear us. Thank you very much, Ethan.
Okay, excellent.
Right. Hopefully everyone listening virtually can see. And then you want to share your screen, Martin, to share the agenda? And I'd say, yeah, use the application window and then go ahead and hit share. And we should be.
Okay.
All right, so folks, this is Martin's first time hosting the meeting, so I'm just helping him set things up. Hopefully you can all see the agenda on your screen. And hopefully you can also see the camera and hear us. Let us know if at any point you can't hear or see us. I'll leave it up to Martin then.
Okay, thanks very much, Leah. Let's see, I guess we'll start with introductions. As Leah pointed out, my name is Martin Hull. I'm new to the CRTC and new to the committee, but we'll be running these meetings in the future instead of Carrie. So in terms of people here in the room, I'll start on my left.
I'm Judy, no voice. Judy DeHota Taylor, Deputy Director, Sartell County Office for the Aging.
Thank you.
And I'm Katie Carroll. I'm with the Association on Aging in New York, and I'm a guest today.
Thank you. And that's everyone here in the room. So let's see now. I will go down through the list and just let everyone know who else is here online. Leah Rai from CRTC is here. Denise Figueroa from the Independent Living Center. Brian Monaco, Center for Disabilities. Denise. Albert Caroli. Ethan Warren from CDTA. Divya Duraisam. Let me know if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, you're from Mechanicville?
Yes.
And we have Audrey Bernison from New York State DOT. Carrie Blanchard from the town of Colony. And let's see, Tofik Zion. Are you with an organization or are you here on your?
Yes, I'm from New York State Department of Transportation, Public Transportation Bureau.
Okay, great, welcome. And I believe that is everyone. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. So with that, we'll start the agenda, starting with public comment. Is there anyone here who from the public who'd like to make a statement or talk to us about any issues? Sounds like no, I didn't see anyone on the list. So I think we'll move on then to our. Excuse me.
Could I make one?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I didn't, this is Katie. I didn't come here with the intention of doing public comment, but I've been very involved with alongside Martin, actually, with a group that is calling itself Capital District Partners for Accessible Public Transportation that's been meeting monthly in Troy. And right now it's a group of people mainly with disability and looking just to have a really good two-way I guess a dialogue with CDTA and advocating for more accessible public transportation overall. And I just wanted to say that I think members of that group are really interested in getting to know the CRTC better. And so I think they're would be very interested in doing like a joint meeting at some point if this committee or another committee of CRTC would be interested. And that's it.
Okay, great, thank you. And that very easily rolls into our third item on the agenda, which is for you to speak to us a bit about funding.
Sure, so, and can I get an audio check since I'm the farthest from the owl?
I can hear you well.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So I know some of you, I don't know others of you. Again, my name is Katie Carroll. I am with the Association on Aging in New York, which is the membership association for the area agencies on aging. Today I know we have at least one represented, through Judy. And the goal of the association is to support the Aging Services Network and advocate for our members. And my particular focus is on aging and disability together. I happen to be a disabled person. I actually don't see very well, so well, we don't have the virtual folks up on the screen, but if you need to get my attention, just say something. Like Martin said, the goal of me being here was to discuss the impact of federal policy and funding changes on human services for people with disabilities. That's a pretty broad topic, so I just pulled out a few things that I'm seeing in my work, kind of as like discussion points, and I'm happy to take any questions and try and answer them if I can, or try and expand upon anything depending on what people are interested in. I do want to acknowledge that there's maybe something happening at the federal level right now. I know there was a vote late last night in the Senate to try and like move things along, reopen the government, get us a budget, something like that. So we'll see. Everything feels like it's perpetually in flux. I kind of divided my notes into policy and funding, broad categories. When I think about policy specifically, the most striking example of policy impacting human services came earlier this year when we were hearing a lot more about those diversity, equity, and inclusion reviews by DOGE, the Trump administration. And we saw this in aging services because of federal contracts that provide aging services. One program that was caught up in this review process was AmeriCorps, which through AmeriCorps Seniors funds some local programs. In some counties, the AAA will use AmeriCorps Seniors to reimburse volunteer drivers who are bringing people to medical appointments or delivering meals to people. And so because of this process, this review process, I call it a process. I don't mean to make it sound super formal or anything. It was a thing that was happening. Contracts were held up, not renewed, unless in some cases the contractor, the AAA, would go through and change things that were found to be objectionable. So we definitely heard from some counties that that scrub their contracts for things that were objectionable in order to continue to get funding. In at least one instance, a county actually filed a lawsuit to try and get their contracted funds without going through that scrubbing process or changing the contract. That was Erie County. And ultimately, they were able to, so they filed the lawsuit, and then they actually had a good outcome in that case. They were able to get their contract honored. In the one point that I wanted to make sure that I shared here is that even with all of this going on with the funding for the driver reimbursement being threatened, we're also hearing from the area agencies on aging, the counties, on how hard it is to actually get those volunteer drivers in the first place. Many of the volunteers themselves are older adults, and some of the AAAs are just not seeing the same level of interest or ability to provide those services, which really rely heavily on volunteers. So I just wanted to say that is also something that's going on. While staffing definitely has funding implications, I'm kind of considering staffing and reorganization under policy changes. So I just wanted to highlight that for the most part, the Federal Administration on Community Living was kind of dissolved. I'm still getting emails from them on occasion, like it's all still like ACL branding, so it can be kind of confusing to still hear from them as an entity, but in reality, staff have been moved elsewhere, and in the case of aging and disability services, a lot of those folks are now categorized under Administration for Children and Families. In addition to reorganization, there have been significant reductions in force, layoffs at different agencies. This is the case at ACL. This is the case at ACF, the Administration on Children and Families. I'm also gonna pull out the Department of Education as well. As someone that works in aging and disability, I do try to keep tabs on what's happening with vocational rehabilitation and related services. So, of course, a great number of people have been reduction enforced from Department of Education. I believe there's a lawsuit to reverse those layoffs, but I'm not clear on where that lawsuit stands. We at the Association on Aging, we actually have a grant through the Housing and Urban Development Agency, and so far we're like kind of moving along with that. But it does feel very uncertain on some days. All this to say, the staffing changes, the reorganization, the layoffs have caused a significant amount of confusion and inability to communicate with the right people about programs. And this was true even before the federal government shut down, which of course made everything even worse in terms of communication. Funding. Aging services is, I'm just going to provide the breakdown. The federal government provides about 90 million to New York State for aging services. New York State provides 230 million for aging services, and then the county governments actually provide more than 320 million. And we call that an overmatch. And what that means is that the counties are actually going beyond their obligation to receive federal and state funds. They have an obligation to match a certain percentage of the funding, but in many cases, maybe all cases, they've actually gone beyond that. All politics are local. County legislators, just because of their proximity to the people being served by aging services, they very likely often hear from people that are directly impacted, and that probably has contributed to counties providing that overmatch. The structure for aging services funding comes through the Older Americans Act. And the last time the Older Americans Act, and this is a federal legislation, it was last reauthorized in 2020. We are currently looking for a reauthorization of the Older Americans Act. There is, back in the summer, the Senate, no, not the Senate. No, it was the Senate. So we do have an Older Americans Act Reauthorization Act of 2025 bill. At the federal level, I'm not aware of a House version, but we are looking to have this legislation passed, and that would provide the funding. In this case, it would reauthorize, the bill would reauthorize the Older Americans Act for, I think, through 2030. Yep, through 2030. It would increase funding by 18% over the next 4 years, and it includes some changes to aging services that I won't get into because it feels a little too in the weeds. There was a hearing last week, the Senate Special Committee on Aging. I actually didn't get a chance to listen to it, but presumably there was lots of testimony in that hearing on the value of aging services and why we do need that Older Americans Act reauthorization. I mentioned before, when I was talking about reorganization of staffing, people being moved around, people focused on aging and disability being moved to the Administration on Children and Families, or at least that, those programs being moved. And I was looking at I guess the proposed budget for the Administration on Children and Families for fiscal year 2026 this morning, and it did bear that out. It includes a lot of the things that we would see in the ACL budget. One thing that I want to say about that is, so we have Denise Figueroa on who represents one of the independent living centers here in New York, and so we would look to, there is the federal funding stream for independent living, and what had been proposed and presumably still being proposed is that in addition to the main funding stream for independent living, that would ultimately make its way down to the independent living centers. Certain other programs that had their own line items would actually now fall under this independent living funding stream. So instead of things like the Council on Developmental Disabilities or the University Centers for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities getting their own line item, their own funding stream, that would be under this like larger independent living budget, and New York State would get to decide whether we would want to continue funding those things or not, if that makes sense. In Voc Rehab land, the Commission for the Blind has not received their federal funding yet, and presumably Access VR hasn't either. One thing I want to note here, just because I do focus on aging and disability, it was previously planned that the independent living for older individuals who are blind was going to be just cut from the federal budget. So that was pretty concerning. And I've heard at least one vendor agency that provides that service locally here in New York that if that funding went away, they just simply wouldn't offer that service anymore. Let's see. And now I'm getting to the part that's been in the news a lot. So SNAP and HEAP. Two sources of federal funding that have been held up are, and these are two sources of funding that have been held up, and they're basically the #1 topic of discussion right now among AAAs, at least from the perspective of the association. So SNAP, of course, is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. The U.S. Department of Agriculture had planned to freeze payments starting November 1st because it could no longer keep funding it due to the shutdown. At least that was their argument. The program serves about 1 in 8 Americans and is a major piece of the nation's social safety net. It costs about $8 billion per month nationally, and the average monthly benefit is usually about $190 per person. When I was a SNAP beneficiary quite a while ago, I think I was on the much lower end of that scale. I was like definitely under $40, just for me as an individual. And as I'm sure everyone here is somewhat aware of, the SNAP is a program that helps low-income people buy the food they need for good health. And about 80% of households who receive SNAP benefits are households with children, a disabled person, or an older adult. Last week, President Trump's administration said that it would partially fund SNAP. They were ordered by the courts to fully fund SNAP, and the latest I understand is that the Trump administration has renewed their appeal to the courts, asking to basically asking to freeze the funding. Here in New York, Governor Hochul has directed state agencies to issue full federal SNAP benefits for November, and New Yorkers should have been able to start having access to benefits starting yesterday. Of course, with the delay in people accessing their benefits, that's causing issues, access to food issues, and the future is just uncertain on that. As far as aging services go, the largest, probably the most recognizable part of aging services is the nutrition program. AAAs are very much in the business of getting people fed nutritious meals. And this difficulty in accessing SNAP benefits has created a lot of conversation at the AAAs around how to meet people, get people food. So we've heard a lot about increasing meal production and getting older adults who qualify to older adult centers just to get a meal. And then of course, there are other AAAs can, as they can, try and connect people to food pantries. If they can't physically get to the food pantry, get, delivered the food to them, get the people to the food pantry, things like that. On energy assistance, the low-income home energy assistance program is also affected due to the shutdown. LIHEAP is the low-income home energy assistance program, and that assists low-income households cover their energy bills. In addition to the impact on the funding, the entire staff of the Division of Energy Assistance at the Administration for Children and Families had their jobs cut earlier this year. In response to this issue with HEAP, the Association on Aging, we actually released a press release last week to the media to highlight how bad this is for older adults in particular. So I'm just going to pull out a few blurbs from our press release. HEAP provides critical financial support to low-income households for home heating costs, energy emergencies, and equipment repairs. In 2024, nearly 1.8 million New York households received HEAP benefits. Almost 1 million of them include a vulnerable person, such as an older adult, young child, or a person with a disability. With HEAP funding frozen amid the federal shutdown, local social services agencies have suspended new applications and payments until the federal budget is approved. Most HEAP recipients live off fixed incomes, with the average Social Security payment about $1,700 per month. Winter heating costs can exceed $300 per month, leaving many to choose between heat, food, or medication. Older adults are more susceptible to cold-related illness, respiratory distress, and hypothermia, especially in homes with poor insulation or outdated heating systems. And then I do have some stats around the number of people receiving HEAP in the different regions around the state and how many of those households include an at-risk older adult. So one of the really frustrating and sad impacts of the lack of access to SNAP and HEAP is that money that has been allocated to the area agencies on aging to address unmet need is now being used to fill the gaps that are caused by the lack of access to SNAP and HEAP. So, like I mentioned, the AAAs are trying to figure out how to get food to people. They're also trying to figure out how to keep people sufficiently warm, even going as far as to like buy people space heaters and blankets, things like that. Um, And that's really it for things that I wanted to bring to the committee. Granted, they're not specifically transportation related, but so many issues are related. So I'm happy to take questions and I'll, like I said, I'll try and expand on anything if there's anything of particular interest.
Any questions, anyone?
And those attending virtually, please feel free to type a question into the chat if you'd like to ask a question that way.
Yes, good point, thanks. Right, well, thank you very much. That was a lot of great information and appreciate it. So I guess we'll move on to item number 4, which is a brief one. Just a quick note on section 5311 formula grants for rural area program. Award letters went out for the recipients of those in the latest round in October. So we don't have anything more at this point, Audrey, unless there's something that you'd like to mention. But things will be starting up shortly. And so let's then the next item is section 5310, the Enhanced Mobility for Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities Program. The deadline for submitting proposals for that program were postponed for about a month into the beginning of December from I think it was November 5th.
This is Tawfiq. This is December 5th is the due date.
December 5th?
Yep.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks. Yeah, and by all means, dive in and let us know anything that I've missed. I was just going to mention that we here at CRTC attended the webinar for evaluators last week, and so we're getting ready to take a look at the and rank the proposals when they do come in. Like I said, on December 5th. Yeah, anything else, Tawfiq?
Nope.
No, okay. Good. We're looking forward to that one. I'm putting together a small committee to do the evaluation since the MPOs in within the area of MPOs. They are responsible for ranking the proposals outside of MPOs in the state. In more rural areas, it's DOT who's going to do that directly. Okay, so if there are no additional questions or comments there, I've got a couple of things to talk about that Carrie was going to do, and I'm afraid I do not have the same level of understanding that she does. So I'm going to read them to start off, and anyone with any additional information on it, by all means, dive right in. But item number 6 is the Olmsted Plan update, Olmsted Plan updates, and Carrie writes that the subcommittees for the update to the Olmsted Plan presented their strategies to the Most Integrated Setting Coordination Council on October 7th. New York State DOT was co-chair of the Transportation Subcommittee. The transportation goal presented was to support a technical assistance program to improve and develop public and specialized transportation in rural communities. Specific objectives are to recommend service improvements, to assess microtransit viability directly impacting the disabled community, and C, to explore benefits of multi-county regionalization of transit services to assess if regionalization could maximize usage. The final version of the plan is formally submitted to the MISCC, has not yet been transmitted to the subcommittee. The final full draft of the Olmsted update is due to be released by December 31st. So very interesting program and good progress we made there with some innovative ideas, I think. Any additional thoughts on that?
I give that transportation committee credit because I think it seems like they squished two goals into one, so,
Oh, really? Yes,
yeah. I appreciate that.
very good. Let's see now, the agenda item number 7, another thing that Carrie has written about. Says that Albany County, as far as the Albany County pedestrian infrastructure transition plan is concerned, county staff have begun field work to collect the data on the condition of the Albany County's infrastructure. We plan to put together a draft plan for public review in February, and this is something that the Transportation Council is directly involved with and actually doing some of the work on that plan. Agenda number item 8, the Capital Region Vision Zero Safety Action Plan, which is something that Carrie was the project manager for and really put a lot of work into putting that plan together. Is pretty much finished, but to kind of wrap up, she writes that the Transportation Council adopted the plan at its September meeting. It identifies locations where infrastructure improvements could most reduce serious crashes and also identifies policies and processes that could do the same. Of interest to our group may be the following, which begin on page 57. The plan, by the way, can be found on the internet, and I'll send out the address after. Actually, there's a link in the agenda. That's linked directly to it. So if you want to take a look at it, just use the link there. Probably the easiest way. But under speed management, promote safe. One of the goals is promote safe driving programs and install telematic systems in municipal vehicles to track real-time speed monitoring, hard braking, rapid acceleration, and unsafe cornering, as well as idling duration in geo-fenced area alerts. Another goal is to equip fleet vehicles, especially those operating in school zones and parks with high pedestrian areas, with intelligent speed assistance technology that warns or limits the ability to exceed posted speed limits. Under post-crash care in the plan, some goals are to leverage telematics alerts for engine diagnostics, tire pressure, brake condition, and other vehicle health indicators, and equip all fleet vehicles with upgraded first aid kits that include tourniquets and bleeding control material and simple instructions for their use. This low-cost addition can empower bystanders or staff to provide immediate bleeding control, helping to prevent roadway fatalities due to that reason. And finally, under education, promote partnerships and educate safety professionals at regional and local governments on addressing the special transportation needs of an aging population. So that kind of wraps that up. Like I said, if you like more information, either call Carrie or click on that link and see what the entire project was about. It was very extensive and very comprehensive in terms of coming up with ways of both preventing accidents and reducing engine injuries or fatalities in the case of an accident. Anything to contribute to any of those points?
I can share something on a personal note. So speaking of Vision Zero, avoiding fatalities, protecting pedestrians, I shared this, so Martin's heard this already, but my partner was hit by a car back in September, while my partner was out walking our dog in the early evening. And actually got hit at a four-way stop that was like, well, signed and everything. And I think I wanted to share this because of kind of like, I wanted to share about like the background cost. So like my partner was okay, like best possible scenario, like was just like grazed by a car. The driver actually just like left after hitting my partner. Didn't hit the dog, but it was very scary. My partner is a wheelchair user. So because of my partner's disability, it's very hard to know like how much damage there was, right? And so the best possible thing to do is to seek medical attention to make sure that things aren't bad. Kind of weirdly, ambulance services do not anticipate transporting people with their wheelchairs. So people like my partner can be put in a situation where they have to go to the hospital, leave their equipment behind, and then someone in their life, in this case, it was me, has to come get my partner's wheelchair and then find a way to get myself and the wheelchair to the hospital to meet my partner. So that when my partner is discharged, they can actually they can leave. So all of this, because like, and that's beyond like the emotional and like physical impact of being hit by a car. So I just wanted to share that for background and emphasize the need to do all of the things to get to Vision Zero.
Right, things that sometimes might not be considered.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I think that brings us down to the last item, which is news around the table. I have one thing to mention is that the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee has created a card for people who have difficulty hearing to carry in their cars. And it's a series of graphics that they can point to if they're having difficulty communicating with the police officer who responds to whatever the issue might be. I'm sure there's a way I could show you this if I knew more about the computer here, but I will take a photograph of it and send it out to the mailing list. It's very straightforward, but looks like it's can be very, very useful. Let's see, anyone else have any comments or thoughts or anything to mention about what you're up to these days? Okay.
The group, in case anyone is interested in the group that I mentioned already, Capital District Partners for Accessible Public Transportation. We're doing really good work. It's a small group, but through these regular conversations with CDTA, we've been able to provide volunteers, people with disabilities to attend driver trainings, just to share our experience of being disabled bus riders, STAR users, pedestrians. And I don't have an update. We're offering a survey to the drivers to get feedback on just how impactful like these little our presence is. So I look forward to the results of that survey going forward and sharing them.
Thank you. And that is, I can attest that's a good group and very dedicated to improving transportation. So yes, I think that is probably we're probably all set with that. I guess one thing I'd mention is that we'll be scheduling the meetings for next year and continue with the every 3-month schedule. I'll send out an email at some point asking people or making some suggestions as to what days of the week and times and all that work. If this current Monday afternoon works, we can stick with that, and just making sure that when we schedule out every 3 months that we're not hitting any holidays or anything like that. So you'll be hearing from me on that shortly. Anything else? Well, thank you all for attending and going easy on me for the first meeting that I'm running, and Okay, and we'll talk in, thank you, Adam. We'll talk in 3 months, if not before. Take care.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.